Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. What's going on, y'all? Good morning. Today is another culturally relevant conversation. That's what we have: casual, compelling, about a wide variety of subjects that come from a global perspective. We've been talking a lot about Haiti. Remember, we had Monique Kleska come through live from Port-au-Prince. Have people coming in live from Ghana, South Africa, all over the country, talking about whatever comes to mind. And as you go through our platforms, which, by the way, Coffee Conversations is on our Coffee Conversations with Greg J Facebook page. It's on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and share there. We're getting our YouTube game up. We repurposed the audio for podcasting everywhere, wherever you get your favorite podcast: iHeart, Spreaker, Google, Amazon, just wherever. Just put in there Coffee Conversation, Spotify, put Coffee Conversations in your search and you'll find us. And as you're looking across all of these various platforms, looking for Coffee Conversations with Greg J, you will see in our library a number of headings that would be the making of hip hop. Ever since last year, when they were, all the talk was about 50 years of hip hop, 50 years of hip hop. And I began to observe people around the community who were hosting events, planning exhibits, just wanting to celebrate and commemorate 50 years of hip hop. And it would always amaze me that a great amount of these people were not there, or probably are of the demographic that were against the genre, and it's kind of oxymoron now to begin to celebrate it through their perspectives. And that's not really a criticism, y'all. I'm just making an observation, because as for me, after a long career in broadcasting, being around and in the music industry, I was a young executive when hip hop exploded onto the scene. We watched it. I always like to say I had floor seats to the game as it came in and began to blow up. One aspect of that is that, you begin to see how regional the expression of rap culture became. First out of New York, then the West Coast. You're talking about Chicago, you're talking about Atlanta. We watched so many things come across the West Coast. And when we created the Hip Hop Countdown at Bailey Broadcasting Services with the legendary Lee Bailey, we found out of the far north outpost of Seattle, Washington, a slamming sound. And that's what we're going to examine on today. Today, joining me to sip coffee and chop it up with me, talk about hip hop and hip hop culture. Man, ladies and gentlemen, Nasty Nes Rodriguez. Let's see. There he
is. Hey, what's up, Greg?
Hey, man, you doing all right?
I was just thinking, man, the first time I met you, I was in my 20s. And in a few weeks, I'm going to be 63 years old. Man, we go way back, huh?
We go way back. We were young and fly in those days.
Oh man, I remember you were clean cut. You always wore a suit and tie, and I was like, man, this guy is like, he looks sharp, man. I want to be like Greg.
So funny. He's so funny, man, man. So how's things going for you these days? And you doing all right? And then let's tell the people a little bit about yourself. Give us your background.
Well, before I do that, I just want to say that if you hear a dog crying in the background, we just adopted a puppy, and I've never, out of my 40 years doing interviews, I've never had a dog like this where he just demands my attention. He's only a few weeks old and he's crying right now because I'm giving you, Greg, more attention than I'm giving him. His name is Adobo. So you might hear me go like, Adobo, shh, quiet, lay down,
Right?
be a good boy. Hey, this
Hilarious.
is I'm just keeping it real. But yeah, so my history, well, I'm going to start really officially in 1980 when I got my first job on commercial radio on a station called 1250 K Fox. I was literally 18 years old when I got my first job there, and it was at that radio station in Seattle that I started the very first, not knowing that I was going to be the very first one, but there was an opening on Sunday nights to do a new music show on Sunday nights for 2 hours, and that new music show ended up becoming an all rap radio show months later. So I guess you could say I'm like the first guy on the West Coast to have an all rap radio show, and it was on commercial radio. And so I guess that's kind of my little claim to fame. Making a long story short, because it's a really long story I have, but I discovered Sir MixALot, uh, our label, Nasty Nes Records, which you helped us achieve our goal by going gold and platinum. We went gold and platinum in the mid '80s. What else? That's interesting. If you're a martial arts fan, I am the youngest student from Bruce Lee School. Uh, I was only 13 years old, and you had to be like, I think, 17 years old or 18 to be in school. But my mom was such good friends with them that I was kind of like a problem kid. So they said, well, let's bring him in and teach him a lesson. And it was the best lesson I've learned, being 13 years old, fresh off the boat. And I'm a big martial artist. Bet you didn't know that, so I'm glad you didn't get me mad.
Nice. Very good.
uh,
Good.
Yeah, and then I've been in a few movies, TV shows, and I'm still on the radio on a radio station called Rainier Avenue Radio World. Every Sunday night, I've got an old school show I do for 2 hours. And yeah, that's kind of it, man. So I'm gonna leave the rest of you. You ask me the questions, and I'm gonna answer them, and I'm gonna be very honest with you. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be straight up with you. Okay?
Yeah. No worries. It's interesting. You mentioned Sir MixALot. For those who say, "What is that?" Remember the song? It's still classic. "Baby Got Back." What is your like when you look at "Baby Got Back" as a song? It's definitely a classic. Like even now, what, almost 40 years later, it's still a classic. If you drop that on the dance floor, people are gonna like really, gravitate towards it. When you guys first made that record, did you imagine it to be the legendary song that it is today?
Well, you got to understand, when we first came out, there was no Baby Got Back. The song, if you're a real true hip hop head, and if you grew up in LA and listened to K Day, our very first big hit single, there were two songs we did. One was Square Dance Rap, another one was Posse on Broadway. Posse on Broadway was the one that got us MTV play and got MTV to come to Seattle to film us. So there was life way before Baby Got Back. It was Posse on Broadway, Square Dance Rap, Beepers, and My Hoopty were the songs that put us on the map. Remember those?
I see you on Broadway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one, man. I don't know why everyone thinks this Baby Got Back, but one thing I do know, because when he put Baby Got Back, he bounced already with Rick Rubin to Deaf American. But I do remember growing up, hanging out with him and the posse. I was the only guy who didn't like girls with big butts, and they would call girls with big butts. Girls with backpacks. They would call it backpacks,
Yeah.
and um, and they always loved going to Oakland because they said they love the girls, especially the black girls with the big butts. And I go, and I was the only one that liked girls that looked like Madonna, really skinny or Paris Hilton.
Nice. Nice.
That was stick figures. I love that look, but they love that backpack. And I
Yes.
and I said, man, I bet you if he did a song about that, he'd probably be pretty big, and he was bold enough to do it. So now he's known for butts.
Yeah. When we think about Seattle, I mean, I remember when we first became aware of Nasty Mix Records. Just it was just like Seattle, like what,
Hmm.
and became aware of you guys, and then also too, I think KRIZ AM, uh,
Hmm.
Bailey Coleman, who's gone on to be a superstar program
Oh
local.
yeah, Bailey. Yes.
Really, really good stuff coming from the region. What is it like in Seattle, and how did you make your mark on the national stage?
Well, uh, I was very young, and I just got my first job in commercial radio when I was 18 years old. And as a kid, I was always picked on, didn't have a lot of self esteem, but I always wanted to be somebody because I didn't like going to school. Uh, Believe it or not, if I listened to what my parents wanted me to do, I would have been in the army, serving in the civil service, and there's no way you're gonna catch me like like Goldman Powell. I definitely would not be in that kind of situation, Um, I just wanted to pursue my dream, and my dream was to be famous. I didn't know what famous and what though. So
Mhm.
my role model growing up was like Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee, and more so Bruce Lee because we kind of look the same as far as the color of our skin, our eyes, what we eat, and everything. He was someone I could really identify with, and he also moved to Seattle, went to school there, started everything there, and put kung fu on the map. And I said, man, I want to do the same thing like he did. So I
Mhm.
was in a few movies, and I put hip hop on the map. I put MixALot on the map, and I kind of followed in his footsteps and being part of this school too through my teacher, Sifu Taki Kimura, who passed away a few years ago.
Mhm.
He was my role model, my father figure, and yeah, that's how it kind of all began, man. And you
Mhm.
know what? I forgot what your question was, but I hope I answered it.
Yeah, no, was it hard when you began to emerge, and get very, very super well known across the country? Were you accepted by the hip hop community? How did that how did in your world of nasty mix and your world of rap? How did you feel folks accepted you, embraced you as part of the West Coast?
Well, I tell you, man, I think me being in the videos, I kind of got a unique look, and being Asian is very rare. You saw an Asian person in the hip hop video or in hip hop period. At that
Mhm.
time, it was probably only one other guy, the late Fresh Kid Ice from Two Live Crew. And
Mhm.
the stereotype question or whatever everyone used to say is, "Are you Kid Fresh Kid Ice?" He goes, "No, that's he's for the Two Live Crew." He goes, they say we all look alike, but I really do not look like Fresh Kid Ice. but but uh, but I think being Asian, it really stood out, and uh, the Filipino, the Asian community, when they saw that there was someone else other than Bruce Lee that's kind of making a little bit of noise, they had someone else kind of now to look up to, and that helped out a lot. I've been blessed with the gift of gab. Like I get along with everyone. I mean, like you and I would consider you a very close friend. I mean, we got along so well, man, and
Yeah.
I just have that kind of personality where people gravitate to me, and I just love people, and if I never did this job, I probably would have been a psychologist.
Ah,
Um,
nice.
Really, I mean, because I really like talking to people and getting to know them. So one day you and I are gonna have a long talk here, and I'm gonna ask you, why did you ditch the suits? Why did you grow what do you call it? Your hair, the braids. What do you call that?
These are
Your hair.
locks. Yeah,
Yeah, man. I said,
this,
what happened to Greg?
this is my second journey, and there are many of those who will ask the opposite. When I cut my first set of locks,
Uh-huh.
for years, everybody was like, "Wait, what happened to Greg?" To save, So yes, yeah,
Really?
I've had
Yeah, man.
few iterations. As you grow in consciousness and you grow and see things. I think that's where my lock journey started. We have to, now that you're speaking to this, I'll have to do a show on the lock journey. It's just the whole thing. But now that I'm semi-retired, as we say, but still
Hmm.
running this through and still doing events and still doing digital radio and everything, uh, I decided to begin to grow my locks again, just because to a lot of people, and you would be surprised with how many what we would call distinguished people ask, like, what happened to your locks? I'm talking Congresswoman Maxine Waters always is on my neck about, you need to grow your locks back, and all that stuff, And so it's
Well, you
funny.
know what? You at your age though, you're really blessed because people or our age can't grow hair in my head because I wanted to be shaved, but I can still grow hair, and you definitely can still grow hair. The people our age, our friends, they're all bald, man. They have no hair.
And look, elder statesman, still in the game, still relevant, still active.
Yes,
Speaking of
sir.
that, as we look back as elder statesmen, in this whole rap thing, what do you hear on the radio? I have my own opinions and I want to dive into that, but I'm interested for you who was at the beginning of the game and now you hear rap music, mainstream, all of this. Man, Dr. Dre just got a star on the Walk of Fame. I think that was really, really awesome. But when you hear the
Yes.
music now, what do you think? What comes across your mind when you hear today's rap music?
Oh man, I honestly, well, let's start with Dr. Dre. I was like one of the first DJs to ever even play NWA and Eazy on the radio because of my relationship with Arabian Prince. I had to take a reel to reel and edit all the cuss words out of the song, but I was able to play it on my radio show. And man, the phones just kept ringing off the hook to hear NWA. And that was years ago. But now, music wise, man, Greg, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I don't think there's really any new hip hop artists that I really like listening to. I mean, I enjoy looking at Cardi B, but I don't like really listening to that kind of stuff, man. I listen to old school music. Like people think I all I listen to is hip hop, but if you come to my house or in my car, or whatever, you'll hear shy lights, stylistics, spinners. You'll hear that playing in my radio.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I get a little alarmed. I mean, because if the young man or woman goes down the street with their boombox, I mean, the music that's coming out of there is, very pornographic, very violent. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, and then I just feel like, you know, art imitates life and life imitates art. And so this is why we're seeing so much craziness among our young people. I think it's in the music, man. And that's my
Mhm.
my opinion when as a OG in the game, when I listen to the music, I'm shocked and appalled. It's very so much of a trip to me. At the same time, there is some good, very good music out there, really compelling rap music out there, but it doesn't get the mainstream play that it deserves. I think the matrix of the music industry, as we know, has definitely changed, but it has brought us to it just suppresses the positive messages, the deep messages of love and this and creativity that we used to see so much in hip hop.
Mhm. Well, it's kind of like back in our days. I guess you first heard F the Police and all that was like, man, what's wrong with music these days? Probably just kind of like the same thing now, man. People trip off what they talk about, but yeah, it is pretty deep of what they're talking about, these days in the lyrics, Yep,
Hmm.
you're right. Right. Well,
Hmm.
who do you listen to? Who do you? I mean, aside from Taylor Swift, Greg, who do you listen to now?
Uh, well, I listen to. I've been traveling a lot, Ness, to Africa. Uh, been there probably 20 times now, and I listen to a lot of African music, contemporary African music. I get into the indigenous music a little bit, but what's on the radio that I listen to, with the beauty of the internet, 'cause back when when we were active, we didn't have the internet, you know.
Yeah, guy. You know what? You're right. Hmm.
And so now, with the magic of the internet, I can listen to radio all across the world. When I'm sitting in my studio, I'll turn the radio on online, and I'm listening to Kaya FM out of Johannesburg, South Africa. That's my favorite station. And then I like, believe it or not, there's a station coming out of Accra, Ghana, called Homeboy Radio. I really like
Oh,
Homeboy Radio, and I just tittle tattle around to the different African stations, and then because I am just a deeply conscious man, I do listen to a lot of talk radio, KPFK, those types of stations all across the spectrum. And what I noticed too, lastly, is that people that are in my generation of radio have now gone into the whole public radio space. I see a lot of guys and women that now, in our seasoned years are now, holding down jobs in management, and some on air, but mostly in management of public media. And I really think that public media is a very interesting category to jump into. So yeah, all that to say, that's what I'm. Yeah. So that was fun. Thank you for that. Yes, yes. Now let me ask you this, man. How you're still on the radio then, right?
yes, sir, man. Every Sunday night, Rainier Avenue Radio World, and I'm also on Marv Mack's new radio station called the Urban Influencer.com on Tuesday nights. So I'm kind of semi-retired too, but man, you put a mic in front of me, I'll just keep talking. So
Yeah.
I just love being in front of the mic or in front of the camera.
Yeah, Marv Mackey down here in Long Beach. I speak to him all the time.
Oh,
He's
really?
yeah, good guy. We get together every now and again and have lunch or something like that. Good chat. Hmm.
Oh, I'll let him know that we had a nice talk today. Hey, I
Yeah.
just want to know, for those that are watching, if you hear like screaming or barking in the background, I just want the listeners to know that I do not have women locked up in my place, and and it's not girls screaming, having an orgy or anything like that. It's my brand new puppy who really misses his daddy, and I'm giving Greg more attention than I am to my dog. So
I love
he's crying right now. In case you hear that, I don't want you to think I've got a girl locked up,
funny. Now, let me ask you this, man. When you see Dr. Dre getting a star in the Walk of Fame, Snoop got a star in the Walk of Fame. I mean, just back in the day, could you imagine?
No, and the thing is, when we were coming up, when I say we, I'm talking about Sir MixALot, we actually did a West Coast tour with, it was with NWA and MC Hammer. So I hung out with all of them, man. I remember just sitting in the audience while we're doing sound check, sitting with EPE and Ice Cube. Um, Man, back in those days, no, I would never have thought that, and because I too would like to get a star, but I want to get a star and a Walk of Fame for being a popular actor or something like that. But yeah, it never would dawn on me that that would happen, and to see that happen, it's like, man, I remember when they first came out, all the negative stuff they were saying about them, and the group, and the drama between Eazy and Dre, and yeah, it's just amazing to see how years later, everything kind of all worked out, and he's also about to become 60 years old, and he's still in the mix. And yeah, all those cats, man, I've been down with from day one, so I've seen it, I've seen them evolve.
Yeah, it's really funny. I always talk about like Snoop Dogg. I remember when his first, album first came out, there was so much controversy. People were like, "Oh, this guy, he just really, really super controversial." And now you fast forward to now, he's one of America's most beloved pop culture icons.
Isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah. Isn't that something like him and Martha Stewart? Like, who would
yeah,
ever think that?
yeah. It's really really funny, and you're right. Same with Dre. I mean, big billionaire with a B. And
I
then
know.
uh, uh,
Man.
we were on site where they named a street in Compton after Easy E, so the Easy Street in the city of
I
Chicago.
wanted to go to that. Were you there
I
at
was
that
there.
event?
Yes, I was
Man.
there. If we go on our
I
YouTube
mean,
page, you can see a little recap of the whole thing, and it was really, really great.
man, and I wanted to go, but I didn't have a ride at that time, and I saw pictures with Violet Brown and all that, and I go, man, I need to be there because I'm actually on Easy E's song called Radio, and me and Greg Mack are on that song,
Wow.
and it became one of his biggest songs ever, and I never thought back then when I did that record that it was gonna be huge, and so yeah, man, when I saw that, I go, man, I should have been there, but I wasn't there, but I'm glad you were there.
Yes, yes, I was there. It's interesting you mentioned Greg Mack and Violet Brown, and so we're running around, really advocating for arts and culture at a very high level within the city of Long Beach. One of our fellow board members came up from in LA. Okay, and when we were all together at one time as board members, she had never met Violet or seen. So she asked me, "Who's that little old lady?" And I was like, "Yo, that's like Violet Brown." you know, she's kind of, here in Long Beach, in the city of Long Beach, and she's almost like we say semi-retired and all of that, but she's still doing some stuff. She runs a health club and stuff down here. But when you just see her walking around the city of Long Beach, and if you know just how much of a doggone legend she is,
Oh, I
especially
believe you.
in the hip hop game. I mean, Violet Brown is a legend, and
Hmm.
he look, KRS-One shouts her out on one of her records, and then I saw a video of Busta Rhymes. He did a signing at a local record store, and the person who was filming the video, shared a message from with him, and Busta was like, "No, Violet Brown." I mean, Violet Brown is a legend in hip hop music. What do you think about how instrumental has life intersection been?
When you say stuff like that, when I started noticing that I was starting to get pretty well known, is back in the days when we had vinyl and you bought a vinyl on the back of the albums, they would thank people on there, and then I would notice
Yeah,
people would thank. I would see my name on there, although they always spelled my name wrong, but I would see them thank Nasty Nes on there, and I go, man, I think I'm getting kind of popular because people are thanking the back of the album covers. So that was kind of like my first sign of knowing like I'm starting to get kind of popular. But yeah, she definitely is a legend, and she was there for us with Nasty Mix, and we still communicate to this day. I mean, it's funny how all three of us are like semi-retired, but we're still in the mix, man, because this is in our blood. This is what we love to do, and when they say it's when you have a job, it doesn't even feel like you're working because you love doing what you're doing.
yeah,
This is how I feel about what I do as my life, man. I mean, man,
yeah.
I love doing this. And then when you reached out to me, I was like, yeah, of course I'll be on Greg's show. Yeah, I had no clue what kind of show it was. If he's gonna talk about Africa arts and all that, I said I'll talk about that. Sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, let's go there. Talking to Nasty Nes Rodriguez out of Seattle, Washington. Nasty Mix Records, hip hop, icon, actor, talking about hip hop culture, talking about arts, talking about all things music, radio, acting. we go back a long way. Back in the day, we were young executives. He was a DJ, he was an actor, martial artist, came with a lot of different hits. Coming from Seattle, Washington. And in our day, man, when West Coast hip hop was beginning to explode across the scene, then, we began to hear noise from Seattle, Washington. And I remember us embracing Seattle because, after all, it still was the West Coast. But you didn't really think that this music, you know, Seattle as a music space, we're thinking the small city way, way up there at the top of the United States, at the top of the West Coast. And what a surprise to hear people like Sir MixALot come out of there, songs like Posse on Broadway and just a few other gems coming from the city of Seattle. Nasty Nes Rodriguez, good guy. Good guy. And just know that you can get Coffee Conversations across Facebook, and that'll be Coffee Conversations with Greg J on the Greg Johnson personal page, on Kalimbasong Coffee Company, Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. You can get us there. And also we repurposed the audio so that we are on Spotify, we're on Amazon, we're on iTunes, iHeart, just everywhere, just wherever you get your favorite podcast. Coffee Conversations with Greg J.